name is Wanda Reynolds. I'm the Director for Study Abroad, and we are doing live stream tonight so that students from other universities who are coming on the program can be with us. So we want to start on time for their sake. I want to introduce to you Donna Ryan, Assistant Director of Study Abroad. Jill Yasinski-Wortman here. She's the Case Manager for Student Life, and she'll be doing her presentation with us too. We also have with us Angela McNutt, who many of you have handed your papers into. She's going to be coming down and doing the responses to the live stream, because the students on that side can actually put in questions to the computer, and then we'll be able to answer them right here. And Katushka Kohut, who is our marketing specialist, is here also tonight. So the first hour, we will be doing sort of the nuts and bolts of the program, a lot of details. And then the second hour, we'll talk about safety in depth, but we're going to have a panel of 10 students, hopefully, who were alumni on the program last spring. I want to kind of back up and say, though, that we have the largest group now in Gonzaga-in-Florence in the history of the program, with 195 students. 33 of those are there for the year, and we have just about that many from outside schools, the non-Gonzaga students participating there, that are there for either, most of them are there for the semester, but a few for the year as well. So that's awesome. And your group is also pretty large for our spring. We haven't been doing semesters all that long, but we think we're going to have close to 175 students, including the 33 that are there for the year. So you're not going to be alone. Some students think, well, if I come second semester, then how am I going to fit in? Don't worry about that. The year students are going to wonder how they're going to fit in with your group this time. So we will go ahead now, and Donna Ryan is going to take over and do part of the presentation. So.
Okay, well, you're all going to study abroad because of the academics, so that's where we will start. It's very important that, that's part of your program. So, scheduling your flight home before the final. Now, I have had probably half to three-fourths of your itineraries come in, and I know some of you are, have not done that, but you will have to work that out over there with Dean Burke and your professor if you are scheduled to leave a day early or whatever. If you haven't made your flight, don't plan to leave until April 21st. The program is over on the 20th. That's the last day of finals. And then you have to be out of the hotel by noon on the 21st. So the 21st is actually a good day to get out, or late at night if you want, on the 20th. Before going to Florence, all students must declare a major, and if you're in business, you need to declare that concentration. So I think most of you have, according to the information I've received, but if you have not, be sure you figure that out before you leave, because you don't want to have to do that paperwork from Florence. Minimum of credits that you can take are 12. Registration is, we'll talk about that in a minute, and that's coming up pretty soon. And also, the maximum you can take is 18-19. Why the split? Because Italian 101 is 4 credits. And you will not be charged for that extra credit. Usually you can take 12 to 18 here without being charged. Well, you will not be charged for that 19th, because that will have involved one of the Italian classes. All students who have not had Italian 101 must take it while you're there. If you have already taken it on this campus or any place else, whatever school you're at, or in summer school someplace, you have already fulfilled that requirement and do not need to take it. If you've taken Italian 101, you might want to consider taking Italian 105, which is a conversation class, when you get there, because that way you're going to enhance the Italian that you already learned either the semester or beforehand. And it's an excellent class. You actually learn to converse locally. The only exception for not taking Italian 101 are the engineers. How many engineers do we have here? That's awesome. Talking to previous engineers, I don't know if any of them have shared this with you, but they all say, I wish I would have taken Italian 101. So if you probably cannot fit it into your schedule, if you can, great. If not, there's opportunities like you have a language partner with somebody from the University of Florence in all your free time over there. But that is a really good way to go, so at least you're picking up some of the basics. And I would strongly suggest that over Christmas break you get some tapes or whatever you can do to try to learn some Italian. Because when you get there, you're going to be there for a semester. If you have no language background, it's going to be harder for you to integrate into the culture over there. There are pass, fail, or incomplete grades are not allowed on the program. Okay, how do we go through this?
Just quick here.
Let's look.
Down here.
So courses and registration. What's the date for registration? October 25th. What time? 7 a.m. So that's a little bit different than what you are used to. Only the Gonzaga-in-Florence students who are going to be in Florence for the spring will be registering at that time. That does include those 33 students that we have there for the year. So everybody will be registering on ZAG Web. For our non-Gonzaga students, I believe it's on page 9 in your binder. It goes through how we register on ZAG Web. And you should have received in your binder your GUID. Please, you can't go in and try because it doesn't come live until that morning. So if any of you have problems that morning and a class is closed or whatever, shoot me an email. We'll see what we can do to work it out for you. If you can't get in because of an error with your ID, or heaven forbid if you have a hold, Gonzaga students, then that's something you're going to have to, clear up first. And if it's something with your ID or registration, then that's going to have to go through the registrar's office, and they will be there for you that morning too. So hopefully it will be smooth. Because we have limited space in Florence in the facility, we don't have a lot of nice large classrooms like we do here. Some of the classes will be limited class size. They can only put, X amount of chairs in a classroom. So if there are certain classes you truly need more than anything, go for those first and get them in. Okay? It's pretty important that, you be on the computer doing this at 7 a.m. And like I said, any questions regarding that, whatever, before or during, just contact me and I'll see what we can do to work it out for you. Many of the books are available in Florence, but not all of them. So you go to our Gonzaga-in-Florence.org website, click on Students on the top, click on Admitted Students, and then you'll be able to click on Textbooks. Before you see all the textbooks, read carefully the designations. So if there's a designation like GIF, they'll tell you what that means. Book available in Florence. Sometimes you will buy the book, sometimes you will just borrow the book. So if there's a book, and I believe the designation is USA, that means that you have to purchase that book in the US. That means that you could also go on Amazon and have it shipped to Florence. Amazon UK ships to Florence. I'm not sure if they charge you a fee to receive those books from Amazon or not. Lots of times when you mail packages to Florence, you have to pay a charge to receive that package. So check that out if you're doing Amazon. If you're mailing your books now, you give yourself at least 3 weeks for that package to get there, and you use the address in the back of your binder, the Gonzaga-in-Florence address. Even if you know your hotel, you'll be getting that in sometime in November. Don't send anything ever to the hotel. Everything always goes to the school. It always has your name on it. It is pretty much illegal to address it to like our counterpart over there, Alessandro, because he should not be accepting packages for you. And they're pretty strict about these things in Italy. So when you send something, when your parents send something, when you get mail, packages, or letters, then it's addressed to you to the Gonzaga-in-Florence address, the Via Giorgio La Pira address, never to your pension. And if you are going to mail those books, then put used, not for resale, because you have to do a declaration and you have to declare a value. Or, you know, because they're so heavy for the most part, it might be better to ship something that's lighter and put your books in your carry-on. Honestly, you probably won't need to be shipping books because you probably will not have that many books that you're going to have to purchase. Unless, I don't know about the engineers, that's something I haven't checked that out too carefully. So, anyway, any questions on textbooks or whatever? Just don't forget to buy them, because if Mom has to send them over because you forgot it, she's probably not going to be happy paying that shipping fees. In your binder, and I know lots of you have gotten these binders quite a while ago, we still have a number of them in our office, and I do understand that there are some some people that have just super recently been admitted, and so all of this may be totally new to you, and welcome on board. Some of you have been admitted close to a year ago, so we have a whole lot of difference in here on how long you've been planning your trip. So everything, if you're new or if you haven't done your work, everything is due right away. The behavior agreement form, it basically read and sign, same as a waiver. The photocopy of the picture page of your passport. Now is the time to look at the expiration date on that passport. It needs to be valid for 6 months beyond the last date of the program. And we'll talk about that in a second. And then the medical form, that's due in early November. It's on your checklist. The medical form, one page is self-disclosure. The second page is for the physician to fill out. You can have it at your health clinic at Gonzaga or for our other friends at their school. You can then also get the TB skin test. We need one that has been run in the last 6 months. The TB skin test is only telling us that on the day you had that run in red that you don't have TB. So it's not a vaccination to protect you from TB. It's simply letting us know if you are a carrier of TB. And every year we do get one or two that didn't know they were, and it's just a matter of medication, etc. It's not going to eliminate you or anything. But because we're in such close quarters in Italy and Europe, on trains and planes and buses and hotels and hostels, that we want you to be sure that you're taken care of and not going to have any issues with that. It's also very important, not mandatory, but I would for my kids, have you get one when you return to be sure that you didn't pick up something over there, just to be on the safe side. Most of you have picked up your International Student ID card. As you know, the school gives you that for the travel accident insurance. A lot of you have used that to get your student discount airfare. Others use Student Universe or whoever you want to go through. But if you want to upgrade, that upgrade is, I believe, till sometime in December when you have to upgrade. And you upgrade through our office if you want the premium card. You can go to myisig.com, www.myisig.com, click on the tab Travel, click on the tab, then it drops down to Travel Insurance. Right there is a comparison between the basic plan, which is a plan you have, and the premium plan. The main difference is a personal effect of loss of, like a computer or something. They have a $2,000 benefit for that. So that's the main difference. And then 8 passport pictures on white background. Be sure that if you haven't done that, turn those in. We need them. 6 must be identical. 1 is for the visa, 1 is for the International Student ID card, and the other 6 go to Florence. And the reason they need to be identical is those are used for your resident permit once you get there. Financial contract, everybody needs to turn that in. Some of you may be doing 2 contracts. Everybody will be doing the Gonzaga-in-Florence contract. And some of you who choose to do payment plans will also have a second payment plan contract. So I may ask you and you say, oh, no, I did that months ago. Well, maybe you did the payment plan that came from student accounts, but you also need to do that Gonzaga-in-Florence contract. Once we have all of your documents, you will be put on the housing list. And it runs a little bit differently because you're more assigned in the spring. They have to see who's going to be staying, and if a year student's rooming with a fall student, and that fall student is leaving, then you may be put in there. If there's an open room, then 2 or 3 or 4 of you may be put in an open room. It kind of depends, and you will be getting pretty soon, starting in probably November, you'll be starting to get emails from Shelley Story and from the Gonzaga Facebook. And on that, she's going to tell you when you can start sending her your request. So you may have a request, I do not want to live with an engineer, I do want to live with an engineer, whatever you want. Actually, that was one of them. Whatever you want to have, or I want to be in a double, or I would like to room with these 2 people. She will do her very best. She's the Associate Dean of Student Life. She will do her very best to put you where you want to be. But keep in mind it's a little bit different than the fall, where we use that housing list for more of choosing your roommates. Passport. You're gonna, if you haven't turned it in to me, and I love it, I have a lot of them sitting in that big old safe in my office. So those that are all complete will go out early next week. It's a really good idea to work on those airline tickets this weekend if that's what's holding you up, or whatever it is that's holding you up. Work on that fast this weekend. We need from U.S. to Italy, back from Italy back to the U.S. So if you're making all these little trips, just download an itinerary for a train or whatever, and we'll just write something on the top of it that will suffice. But your main part of your tickets have to be confirmed tickets. So it's real important when Juan and I drop in or take things to consulates, they are looking at those airline tickets pretty carefully. So that's an important part, either one round trip or 2 one-way tickets. The Italian visa is what most of you have been working on. Unfortunately, I still have quite a few envelopes that have nothing in them, and that's a little bit scary to me. We do not know, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, we do not know when those visas are going to come back from the San Francisco consulate. As you know, I am physically sending you your passport down there. If you do not get your passport back, you don't get on the plane. So it's real important for us to get them down there as soon as we can. We can only apply 90 days before departure. And we are definitely in that. Can you believe that? You're going to be in Italy less than 90 days. So it's real important that we get your things out. Okay, so this batch goes out next week and you come in the following day. I can't just send yours down. We batch process. So you're going to need to, wait till that second batch goes through. And once again, I really emphasize with you, because so many of you, not so many, but a number of you have just recently been admitted. Please make the visa work a priority. And for the non-Gonzaga students, I'm working on contacting you individually about your visa, where you're going to process, and getting you the information you need to do that. So you can certainly email me if you haven't heard from me, but I am in the process. We have a big group from Lafayette, and those students I will be doing next week for sure. So anyway, the visa is very, very timely. Are there any questions on the visa? I know you guys have heard me preach on this, so. Power of attorney. It's a very good idea for you to give either a parent or guardian power of attorney. And that doesn't mean it needs to be signed in front of an attorney. It just, there's forms that we have. If you email me, we can send those to you, and you just download. It just means that your parents, in your absence, can sign off on legal documents for you. Sometimes it's very, very helpful in a financial situation or whatever, that they have power of attorney for you. U.S. Customs and Duties. Has anybody ever flown internationally and they've had to fill out a little customs form of, okay, that's exactly what you're going to have to do. So be prepared for that. Computer, iPod, if you have numbers or whatever, kind of have that stuff so that you can declare that on that form when you're on the flight, actually. Make photocopies of everything. Your passport, your visa stamp is going to be, your visa is going to be a stamp in your passport. You're going to make a copy of that. Your driver's license, your credit cards, if you take your GU or school ID, your international student ID card, whatever you can, and you should have a copy with you in the bottom of your bag, and you should leave a copy of that at home also. Question?
For the custom stuff for your electronics, when you say have a number for that, do you mean the serial product number?
Yes, yeah. Okay, arriving in Florence on January 3rd, no later. Some of you are arriving just a couple days early. Some actually are going on the Christmas tour, and others are going a couple weeks. But I think the majority of you are actually arriving on that day. When we get all of your flights in, or as many as we can gather reasonably without bugging you too much, we will send out the list to all the students, and it will have your name, and it will have your arrival, flight, and time, okay? So you will know who's going to be on that last leg with you. It'll say, United, such and such, arriving 10 a.m. So that may be helpful for you if you want to kind of arrange, like, oh gosh, you're on that flight too, maybe we can share a cab to the hotel. But at least you'll know and see people when they're coming in. If you haven't made your airline tickets, we've been in contact with STA Travel. They're actually giving us like a Gonzaga phone number, an 800 number, that might make it a little bit easier, because they will not be able to release information of another student, but they could say, oh, well, there's 3 students from Gonzaga on this flight. So we just got that, but if you haven't made it, check with us, Angela or myself, and we can help you out with that. So you're going to get to the Florence airport, and those of you that have read your binder know that it's a relatively small airport, and then you're going to, you can't get lost in this place. And they're not going to let you out till you go through customs. And then you're going to get an official cab, and you'll stand in the taxi cab line. Just somebody might come up to you and try to say, oh, come on, where do you want to go? Da, da, da. No, you just wait for that official cab. Since you're going to have a lot of your stuff, probably 2, 3 max would be in a cab, unless they have like a van cab or something like that. Write the information down on a little card and hand it to the taxi cab driver of the pension that you will be in. Don't try to use your Italian here. It's the only time. The rest of the time you can try to use your Italian, but here you just want to hand it to him so he knows exactly where to take you to. And in the binder it tells how much you can expect to pay, so have that money available in euros. Lots of taxi cabs use credit cards. I don't know if they're fond of that. The other day I tried to use a credit card in a taxi cab and he goes, no. And I'm like, oh, good thing I had enough money. So don't plan on that. Plan on having euros, at least a couple hundred of euros to start you off, and then you should be fine. The GIF staff will email you your hotel information, so you will know what to write on that card and exactly where to go. And they're going to be flitting around from hotel to hotel, greeting you and everything. The staff is well aware of who's going to be in their hotel, and they will be there to welcome you also. If you arrive early, I've asked some confirmation on this, but I haven't gotten an answer yet. There is a possibility, because Christmas tour is coming back on January 2nd, that maybe the pensions would be open. I'm not sure of that. But be prepared to pay for that one night. If you're arriving on the 2nd, be prepared to pay for that one night. There's a lot of hotels very, very close to our hotels that you could stay in for the night. If you stay in a pension, you'd want to put your stuff probably in our hotels, because otherwise you don't want to leave your stuff in a pension. So if you're arriving early, we can, if I can get that information pretty soon, we'll check on that. And I'm sure when Shelley sends out her email about your housing, she will address that too. You see?
Should we get our money changed before we leave the U.S., or if we land somewhere before we go to Florence? Like I'm landing in Frankfurt, would it be good to change the money there?
I would get it before you leave the U.S. You can get it at some of the major banks. You can get it at the international airport where you leave, except for Spokane. In fact, maybe you can't even get it in Spokane, can you?
There's a new company. They just recently started here.
Oh, okay. Your worst rate of exchange is probably going to be the airport, but it is what it is. So if you wait and go there, then you're going to have to figure out that cash machine in Germany or wherever. Might be a little bit easier to do it in Minneapolis or wherever you're flying out of in a big airport. Okay, I know that from experience. And is that it? Okay, Wanda's going to take it from here.
All right. Well, we want to make sure everybody's healthy and stays healthy while they're abroad, so we ask for you not only to do the health forms, but if you have pre-existing conditions that need support, like diabetes or some other chronic condition, that you would contact our Dream office here. They will help arrange for ongoing care for you while you're in Florence. We have 2 physicians who come to the campus, and they're there about 4 days, every day that you're in class. They come to the campus, and they speak English, and the Dream office will work in advance with them to make sure that that either they can attend to your needs, or that they can set up a physician to have you work with while you're there. We talked about the medical exam. If you have prescriptions, you need to take the full amount of prescription product with you while you're abroad. You cannot mail prescriptions internationally. It's against the federal laws, or international laws, excuse me. There might be some of you that have a prescription that you have a restricted refill on, for example, Ritalin or something like that. That's another reason why you need to work with the Dream office, because they can work with the doctors, and perhaps they will change your prescription, or they will figure out if the doctor in Florence can continue writing your prescription and you can get it filled there. So that's really important. Immunizations, there's a thing on the health form that asks about all of those. You might also get the, let's see, I forgot what they're called now. There's some shots on the form that are not required, but are a good idea for international students to have. And I would recommend that you continue with those or get those. The medical and accident insurance Donna has already discussed. One of the things between the basic and the premium insurance in addition to covering your personal items, it does increase the insurance coverage almost triple. So your parents might be interested in that too, if you should need it. We've found that over time, having had some student accidents, that the ISIC card really does kick in. It does really work. And we've had students airlifted and these kinds of things. It works. You will also have the Italian government insurance. Gonzaga pays for all of these coverages. The ISIC card, the Italian government insurance, and then the Gonzaga accident insurance that you have here on this campus will also be available and in place even for the non-Gonzaga students because they're registered here at Gonzaga. So you'll have those 3 levels of insurance coverage. Your parents might want something more. We're happy to talk to them about that, but I think you will have sufficient coverage. So all of you who have flown long flights know that jet lag is a reality. You know, when you first get there, for me it varies. Sometimes I don't have it, sometimes I do. Sometimes I have it so bad I can't hardly stand up. So just kind of plan on that. Some of the things that increase jet lag are lack of sleep prior to the flight, not sleeping on the flight, caffeine, and alcohol. Those things kind of tend to prolong the jet lag. You want to watch your nutrition while you're abroad, and certainly you're going to be fed well, but sometimes you're on such a fast pace, and especially like on weekends, if your funds are restricted or that you just have a habit of eating, you know, like simple food that doesn't contain all of the nutritional things that you need, you can get run down. So a lot of times when the students get there, after they're there for a while and they've kind of been running at high speed all the time, they do get run down, and then we'll notice, they'll tell us from Florence, everybody has the flu or everybody has a cold. So, you know, pack your vitamins. And as I mentioned, there's 2 doctors, at least 2 doctors, including a female doctor, that come to the campus and they take care of your needs. If you should have something that they can't attend to, like, I don't know, maybe you need appendicitis operation or something, they will refer you to another physician, and staff at the school will go with you. You won't be on your own. You don't have to worry about that. Somebody will be there for you and with you. If you happen to be taking antidepressants here or some other medication, make sure that you take it while you're there. Sometimes students, particularly if they have ADD or something like that and they take Ritalin or some medication that doesn't mix with alcohol, guess what? Sometimes they'll forego their medication. And we actually had a student quite a long time ago in London who decided she wasn't going to take her medicine, she was going to experience her social life there. Her father had to go retrieve her because she wasn't capable of getting on the plane by herself. So you want to make sure that you take care of yourself by continuing your medication. It's really important. And family emergencies, I always recommend that you should plan whatever can happen before you go away. So at some point before you leave, have a serious discussion with your parents around the what ifs. What if somebody here at home has a serious health problem or something happens that, you know, normally you would go home if you were here at school? What will I do if I'm in Italy and this happens? What if something happens to me while I'm there, if I get in hospital? Who will come? Will somebody come? Now, the ISIC card will help pay for a parent to come. So there is some coverage for that. But you want to make sure that one of your parents has a valid passport, because that is something that could hold up, you know, and if there's an emergency, they want to be able to get on the next flight. They don't want to wait around to try to get a passport. So make sure that one of your parents has a valid passport. And of course, culture shock. Perhaps you were traveling before and it was only for a few weeks. You might have noticed a little bit, but it's not too likely. Usually it's when you're there for the long term, at least a semester, that you'll really feel the effects of culture shock. And first you're on a honeymoon Everything is grand. As you sort of adapt a little bit and get past that euphoria, then you can start feeling it down. And I noticed that with the Florence students, particularly around Halloween, that's the end of October. They've been there a couple of months already. And you know why? It's because they realize for the first time, especially the ones who are there for the year, they're not going to be home for any holidays. And it can be a bummer. It can be a downer. So Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas is coming up, New Year's, etc. And all of a sudden they feel like, oh my God, I just need out of here. I've had it. I've done my thing. I want to go home. That's normal. You can expect that. And you have just to remind yourself usually that this is the way I should be feeling right now. And that'll help you get over it. And then reach out to other people. There's the staff there. There's each other here. You can remind yourself, oh, hey, are you okay, or whatever. And just talking about it will release some of that. And you'll be feeling much better. All right. With that, we're going to have Jill Yasinski-Wortman give her presentation.
I'm just going to add something to what Wanda was talking about on those insurances, because I really want the non-Gonzaga students to understand this too. Wanda talked about the ISIC and the school insurance that all students will have, and then there was the INA Asitalia insurance, which we give the students because it's the easiest thing to get the visas. So all of our non-Gonzaga students on the affidavit of health insurance, you just check that you will purchase the INA insurance within 8 days of getting there. That insurance actually is good insurance. It allows you to go to the Italian public hospitals in the case of an emergency, and we do use that. We would always take you to the closest hospital if that was the issue. But we do use that insurance also. And then your parents' insurance would kick in if you were in another country or going to a private hospital, if your parents did have coverage for you abroad. So check into whether they do or not.
Hi guys, I'm Jill. I work in the Student Life office here at Gonzaga. And student life at GIF will be just a little bit different than what you guys might experience currently here. Dr. Pat Burke is the dean over there, and so if we kind of look at equivalents, he's kind of the equivalent of like the vice president of student life here at Gonzaga. Shelley Story is the, I think, associate dean. She's the equivalent of kind of like Cassie Kane or the dean of students level here at Gonzaga. And then some of the other people you'll see up there are student life coordinators, and so they're kind of equivalent to what you might experience when you live in the residence halls, like an RD. The difference is they don't live in your pensiones with you. You guys don't have RAs who live in your pensiones. And so these are people that you'll see at the school, but they're not necessarily living with you. But we want those faces to be familiar because those are going to be people that you'll see right from that very first day when you guys get off the planes. So what do you guys want from your experience? Why Florence? There's a lot of places you could have studied abroad. Why did you guys pick Florence? This is the part where you have to interact. I know you didn't see that coming, right? I didn't see anything.
Heard it was awesome.
Heard it was awesome. Okay. Anything else?
Experience new culture.
Experience a new culture. Pretty cool because you're going to school. You're paying the same amount to go here or there for the most part, right? So get kind of two birds with one stone. Anything else?
Travel, Europe.
Heck yeah. Lots of other things around that. Okay. So you guys are pretty similar to what other students have said. See new things, meet new and different people, history and geography. Some of y'all looking forward to practicing your Italian skills a little bit. Yeah. Greater understanding of different cultures, freedom, independence, being a world citizen. Europe is awesome because you guys can get to so many other countries from there, so it's a pretty great place. In Italy, they have this thing called Bella Figura, and it's really kind of a cultural way of living there. So is anyone's Italian really good? Can anyone translate that for me? Uh-oh, we're in trouble. That's why they told you to write down the name of that hotel, right? Anything? Yeah. No one.
You can give us a figura.
Yeah. Beautiful, what, who said it? Someone said it over here. Beautiful figure. Yep. In Italy, good job. They have something called beautiful figure, or Bella Figura. And that really means cutting a fine impression. It's a graceful way of living. And we don't really have an equivalent of that in U.S. culture. But it's something that really means a lot in Italy, and that's the way that they really try to carry themselves. It's a culture that's really big on appearances and how things look, and they really want things to be beautiful and graceful. It really is everything for them. Bruta Figura, which was the opposite of that, really means to make a fool of oneself, to appear in a bad light, to make a bad showing. And so that's really something that they talk about in their culture. And you guys may not ever hear someone talk about that, but you'll see it in the way that they live and the things that they do. Bella Figura, some things that you're going to see. Looking put together, comfortable, polite, sincere. Informed conversations. As Americans, you will get challenged on things that are American, especially American politics. And so if you're not up on those things now, you don't have to be an expert, but if you don't read the newspaper or things like that now, you may want to do that, even if it's only once a week, because you will get challenged on some of those things when you're in another country. Skills to navigate. You're kind of attempting to learn the language. You're trying to assimilate with that culture. And so you're not going there and trying to impose this is how it should be. I'll tell you a little story about that. When I lived in Australia during my undergrad experience back in the day. Very first place I ate when I got to Australia, Subway. Very Australian, right? But that sounded good at that moment. Things that won't fit in. Flip-flops, athletic shorts, bro tanks, things that are not going to fit in Florence. If you're wearing your bro tank at the beach, you're probably fine. But you are not going to see people who are from Florence in the middle of Florence wearing athletic shorts or bro tanks, or for women, the skirts are going to be a little bit longer. They're not going to wear short skirts. So some of those things, you will stand out as American, but those will make you stand out more as not fitting in. What students will tell you is like, oh, everyone wears the same thing that they wear here. Every American college student over there does do that, but people who are from Italy don't do that. And so that's kind of the difference. The same with like your Gonzaga sweatshirts and things like that. Those are really common over here. You're going to see other college sweatshirts because there's a ton of other universities in Florence, but people from Florence aren't going to do that. So it'll be one of those ways that you kind of stand out. Public intoxication. You will... I hope we don't even have to have this discussion, but we're going to. You will see other Americans doing that. You will not see Italians doing that. It's not part of their culture to get intoxicated to the point where they can't still carry themselves gracefully or responsibly. It's all about me imposing American culture on where you're going. That's certainly something that will make you stand out, and is definitely that Bruta Figura. So some examples. You might see some familiar faces up there. And when I say familiar faces, no one who goes to school here, thank God. So what did Italy actually think, right, about Jersey Shore being over there? You guys all know Jersey Shore was there this summer. Some of our students, I think, from what I've heard, have been seen in the background of Jersey Shore. So literally the headline that is up there, I grabbed off an Italian newspaper offline this summer. And Ferracassone, really literal translation is to make a brothel. So if that gives you any indication on how Florence really felt about having Jersey Shore in Italy, they were not happy. Again, they were referring to them as tamari, provincial youth, vulgar. Things that you see on Jersey Shore, please don't go over there and replicate. I hope no one aspires to that, right? But those are definitely those things that are Bruta Figura, that are not going to be welcomed. Another Bruta Figura example. This is actually from one of our GIF students in the past. They went to Pompeii, and at this museum that kind of features the things that happen at Pompeii. Pompeii is where the volcano erupted and a lot of people were killed. And what happened is that the volcano eruption came so fast that it actually created encasements of the bodies of people as the ashes and lava came. So that's what, there were human bodies in there at one point, right, because of this tragedy. One of our students got to take that picture of someone had done some nice graffiti there in the dust. So it's little things like that, haha, funny, but it doesn't really make us all as Americans look good in other cultures. So ugly American is something that you guys will hear about. It was a term that was coined in 1959 about U.S. ambassadors, because they often went to other countries and they kind of imposed American culture and were loud and rude and didn't try to learn what it was like to be in that culture. And so that was why we even got that first term. It really means that you're kind of indifferent. You're kind of going over there and you're not learning the culture and not assimilating and not trying to get with it. This same picture, this picture was actually taken by another one of our students on their study abroad program. They had gone to Zambia and then went to South Africa. for World Cup a couple years ago. Those are 2 students, luckily not ours, shotgunning beer out of a vuvuzela. Right. As you can see, this one's got his American flag around his shoulders, right? Doesn't make Americans look good in another country. And you may experience some anti-American sentiment. I'll tell you again, when I was abroad, I had someone come up to me one night at a bar. I hadn't been drinking. I was just with other friends there. And he said, "Why are all you Americans uneducated, ignorant a-holes?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" And later he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean that." I'm like, "Well, that's really quite the approach to just kind of talk, like that's not a pickup line, buddy." So things to kind of think about. You may get challenged, and sometimes people dislike Americans for things that you guys didn't do, and it doesn't always happen, but something to just kind of be prepared for. So things to kind of help you be that cultural ambassador, to help you be someone who can be a great ambassador, not only of America, but most especially of Gonzaga. You know things about your own country. So if you, again, take a look at the newspapers, just get up a little bit on world politics, world news, and especially things that are going on here. Know things about Italy. If you haven't done so already, pick up a guidebook. If you read the first 60 pages, you're going to get something about the history of the culture that you're going to. You don't have to read the whole book, but it's a great kind of introduction to just kind of see. It won't all be accurate, but you'll probably get something good out of that. If you are kind of learning your Italian, jump online. You can get any of the Italian newspapers online now. And so that's a great way to kind of read and kind of see what's going on over there. Try to meet people that are actually from Italy, right? You guys are going to have the opportunity to meet a ton of other college students if that's what you want. And that's great too. But if you get to know people who are from Italy, you're going to have people who are there in 20 years when you want to go back and visit again. They're going to show you the best things that native Italians go and do. They're going to show you the best places to eat. So try to form those genuine relationships. And again, try to assimilate, try to fit in. This is an awesome time for you guys. Go over the first day you're there, go get a cappuccino and just creep on people. Just go sit and look and watch what are other people wearing, what are they doing, how do they interact with people. It would really help you kind of learn what's normal in that culture. So like we're talking about, things that are going to make you a cultural ambassador. Dressing like the locals, being up on those news events. Visit the spots that aren't always the tourist spots. Those are going to be some of the coolest places that you go to, the things that aren't necessarily in the front of that guidebook. Learn some of the local words and phrases. If you can just go into a shop and be able to do basic greetings and basic questions in Italian, it's going to help a ton. Familiarize yourself with currency before you go. If you guys get those euros, and I'd highly suggest get that before you leave this country, make sure you know what all those dollar bills look like. It all looks different. The colors are going to be different, the shapes. There may be other things associated with it. You look like a tourist when you're trying to figure out how much money to hand someone, right? Because it's just new currency. So look at that. Carrying a backpack. If you carry a backpack everywhere, you're probably going to look like a tourist. So that means kind of downsizing, figuring out what else you're going to carry things in. Look at how people carry stuff over there. Keep your volume down. Americans are incredibly loud. Once you guys have been there for I give it about a month, you will be able to pick out the other Americans who just got there because of how loud they are. If you can't pick them out, that might mean you're still being too loud. So think about, what does that look like? Again, if you're wearing what you wear here every day, you're probably going to look like an American. What I've been told from the students who came back, any free t-shirt that you got from Gonzaga, any Gonzaga event, because you guys get 25 of them a year, if you take those over there, you're probably going to look like a college student and not look like you're fitting in. They don't really wear American sports jerseys at all. You'll see soccer jerseys over there from, EuroLeague and the Italian teams, but not things from over here. Using the same language you use over here, whether that be English or some of the other swear words may not go over so well over there. Again, that's not very graceful, not part of their culture. Some of the restaurants and bars you're going to notice are American only. It's going to be only other Americans that you see in those places. If you go to those places again, you're going to look like you're only an American. For some reason, white tennis shoes, Uggs, Bro Tanks, North Face, those are things that they don't necessarily have in Europe or they may not have. So, you can take those things with you, talk to other students, see what they think, but a lot of times you're not going to see native people from Florence wearing that. Yep.
What's a bro tank?
Does anybody else want to describe Bro Tank for me? You're all looking, I don't know. So those tanks, what was that? The surfer, I want to say California. I'm sorry if some of y'all are from California. The surfer tanks, who's got one on? Anyone?
Like the
sort of.
Peace Week shirts?
Yeah.
Like the what?
Yeah.
Peace Week shirts?
Like the homecoming.
Yes, the homecoming shirts. Yeah, you guys, what you guys seen. Next time I'll put a graphic of a Bro Tank in here. We have this little class called Basics here at Gonzaga, and I'm sure none of you have gone through it. But if you've gone to basics, these are the things that you learn. This is what a standard drink is. In this country, if you go to a bar, it's standard. You're going to get this pretty much the same size of things with the same alcohol content. In Europe, it's not standard, and that's the important part. Here, a 12-ounce beer only has 5% alcohol. In Europe, it has 12%, right? 2.5 times almost what you would have gotten here. A 4-ounce glass of wine, wine is going to be mostly similar, but you're going to get more. So if you look at the top one of the European drinks, 500 milliliter beer is 17 ounces. So you're getting 1.4 drinks, so more than you would normally get here, on top of the fact that it's 16% alcohol, right? So you're getting a lot more alcohol than what you normally would. Negroni, which is a kind of a classic drink in Florence that they drink a lot, is 1.5 ounces of gin, so that's 40% alcohol, 1.5 ounces of red Campari, which is 28% alcohol, and a splash of sweet vermouth, and given to you over ice, right? So what that means is that if you guys, when you get to Florence, if you're going to choose to drink, which you certainly will be legal to do so, we'd really recommend at the beginning, take it really slow. Make sure that you know what you're getting into. If you choose to drink here, don't go there to Florence and drink the same amount that you would drink here, because it's going to be a really big disaster. So make those choices carefully. Just kind of stop and check yourself. If that means for the first couple of weeks you stop, have a glass of water in between, things like that, just make sure you kind of check yourself to make sure that you're at a good place that's safe for you. Like we just talked about, maybe a lot bigger with a lot more alcohol. Drinking norms. Both men and women and young adults, the drinking age is certainly different in Italy, will consume a drink or two per day. It's really normal there. It's not an issue. But the way that they consume it is different. It's very slow. It's with a meal. The experience is with the food and being with the people. It's not drinking to get intoxicated. The other thing to think about with drinking norms, and this is something that we heard from the students who came back from summer, is that there are charges for everything. There are cover charges to get into bars. If a bar tells you that there's not a cover charge to get in, there may be a cover charge to get out. That's what some of our students found this summer. They're like, oh, no cover, and they went in and they didn't have hardly any money with them. They wouldn't let them out. They held people there until about 5 a.m. And one of them was able to scrounge up enough money by asking other people to get out, to go back to the pensione and get money to pay to get these other people out. Like literally the security guards are like, we'll sit here all night. So if it seems too good to be true, going in, they're saying there's no cover, it's probably too good to be true, so keep that in mind. The other thing a student shared was that usually, you guys think about, we go to a restaurant and they'll put bread on the table and there's not a charge for that, really. There's a charge in Italy for some of those things. So just be cautious that things will be a little bit different with some of that. Overall in Italy, drunkenness is really seen as a sign of low social status. In fact, it's usually, the only time you see people heavily intoxicated or drunk is that they are, in Italy, usually homeless or very poor. So it's actually seen very differently than in this country. For men, belligerence is highly disrespectful. Drunkenness in public is never favored. The only time it might be slightly, just this much, more acceptable in Italy is at sporting events. For women, that does not mean that's your excuse for anybody who is looking for one. For women, belligerent is completely disrespectful. It is, any sort of drunkenness is completely intolerable in their culture. So some things to keep in mind about kind of their norms. Italians often leave work or school about 6:30 or 7 in the evening. They'll go to a cafe for appetizers, and then they will go to eat dinner later at night. So their schedule might be a little different than what we normally would see here. At bars, you're going to be a target if you're drunk. They will know that you're an American, and people will look for that. So please be careful about how much you drink so that you can stay safe. Stay with your friends. Don't leave anyone alone. Hopefully you guys already, if you're choosing to go out in the neighborhood or things like that, are looking to stay in the buddy system. But we certainly, especially in another country, want you guys to do that, because we don't want to see students get mugged, assaulted, pickpocketed, or certainly anything worse than that. Quick on the GIF alcohol policy. Alcohol is never going to be allowed in public places in Europe, so it's not going to be like you can walk down the street in it. It's not Vegas or New Orleans for that matter. Not in hotel or hostel rooms, so you can't have it there. And the reason for that is that Italian laws are written a little bit differently, and so the way that they serve alcohol is very regulated by the government, and so it has to actually be formally served to you. So you can't just buy alcohol and take it in to a lot of those places because of the way that the alcohol laws are in that country. In the pensione, only with permission. You guys will find out kind of the rules or expectations of your pensiones when you get there. Please don't assume that the expectations are the same as what might be in your residence hall right now, or those expectations, the things that you might do in your residence hall, even if they aren't necessarily in our rules, are okay in your pensione. It may be very different, so make sure that you learn that before you figure that out. You also can't have it on buses. The Florence will tell you guys about that. And then also when you're told not to, obviously. For the ladies, Italian men can be pretty aggressive. A lot of our students have come back reporting that, and that's just an acceptable part of their culture. So it is okay to be nice, but do not be too nice, and it is okay to put your foot down about things. And so if you feel like you're being rude, that's okay if that's a line you need to draw. One girl actually told me her grandmother made her learn Italian swear words before she went over there, and that's what she used to show Italian men that she was really serious, and that actually made them back off. And so that was what she found to be really helpful. And then ignore catcalls. It's something, again, more common and more acceptable in Italian culture, but just ignore it and keep walking. Again, stay in the buddy system like we talked about. Stay together. Look out for one another. You guys have probably heard about the Green Dot program since you got to Gonzaga. So be that person who kind of steps in and doesn't let, if you see something that you think might be going kind of in a bad direction, step in. Make sure that that doesn't happen. Don't be an ugly American. Just a few examples. Just throwing it out there. Marijuana is illegal in Italy. Thus far, knock on wood, we haven't had any issues with our students with that over there. But it is illegal, so just be aware of that. If you go to an Italian jail, they can actually hold you for 1 year without even telling you what your charges are. You can ask Amanda Knox, right? But literally, they can hold you for 1 year before they even tell you what your charges are. And so that's something to keep in mind. What the consular usually tells students if they come and talk to you guys over there is they can come and see you in jail, they can bring you cookies, they can bring a note to your mom, they can't get you out. And so I hope that isn't an issue, but I'll bring it up. The other thing I wanted to touch on, that Wanda briefly touched on, was that if you have a medication that you're on that is considered a controlled substance, so some of them sometimes like Ritalin or things like that, it's illegal to take that into another country. So if you have medications that you take all the time, please check with your doctor to make sure that it's a medication that you can take into another country, because I would hate to have you going into Florence or going into Italy and they're like, why are you trying to bring drugs into our country? When it's just a medication that you might need. So just make sure you check with your doctors on that. Do some research before you guys travel. Just make sure you guys are talking to people, you know where you're going. Be cautious in tourist areas, only because that's where pickpockets prey. If they know tourists are there, it's easy targets. So just be cautious in those areas. Again, be nice, not too nice. Stick to the buddy system, and certainly watch your drink. Date rape drugs are prevalent in Florence, so please watch your drink. Someone tries to buy you a drink at a bar, get it from the bartender, not from someone else handing it to you. And that, just watch each other on that, and again, watch how much you drink so you're not a target. Most of all, be safe, be classy, have fun. So that's all from Student Life. Thanks, you guys.
Wanda has gotten called out, so we are going to continue without her. And she was going to talk on safety abroad. I think we kind of covered the buddy up. Thank you, Jill, for that. And all of this pretty much is pretty self-explanatory. And I'm sure with the Amanda Knox case, and fresh in everybody's mind, that that they have a different legal system. The thing to totally remember, as you are subject to the laws of the country you are in. You are not subject to the laws of the U.S. and Italy. So just, keep that in mind. Jill, did you want to add anything to that? In your binder, in the back, there's going to be a list of the consular information, travel.state.gov. A lot of you have seen us pull that up in our offices. Is very good website to go. If you are thinking about going to Russia and you like, oh my gosh, I can get tickets to this ballet, I'm going to go to Russia. Read that information sheet first on the travel.state.gov website, because if you read it, it will tell you all U.S. citizens must have a visa to go to Russia for any reason. We had 3 or 4 students a few years ago. They got so excited. They bought their airfare. They bought their ballet tickets. They were set to go over Thanksgiving, and then they were informed at the last minute, because nobody, figured that out on the staff that they were going, that they didn't have visas, so they couldn't go. So, and they had to forfeit all that money. So just be sure that where you're going is one, a good place to go, and that you have checked that out with that. We have our travel staff over there, Linda, who you saw in the picture. She's our main travel person, and so you can always check out all places that you might think of going. And this is for independent travel. You don't have to worry about the group travel. Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. I'm not quite sure.
I think what that's referring to is usually at, I think what it was.
No, it's the State Department website. You can register yourself to let them know that you're abroad. So if anything should happen, they will have your emergency contact information, your passport information, all of that on file, so they would know how to contact you or somebody else.
Thank you.
GIF staff will also usually ask you to check in and check out. Like if you're leaving for a weekend on independent travel, they're going to ask where you're going and when you're going to be back, so that they can kind of make sure everyone's safe.
Absolutely, yes.
When traveling, are we pretty much okay to travel in the 27 EU countries?
Pretty much. But, every single day, the first thing Wanda and I do is get the hot spots of what's happening in the world, and we subscribe to another one, too. So, if you're seeing demonstrations in Greece right now, maybe you don't want to go to Greece. So, just be watching for hot spots and making your travel plans that don't involve places like that. But once again, the on-site people are the ones to be asking at that minute. And by the way, Dr. Burke, the dean, his door is open to you, and he loves the students. He is very gracious, understanding, and helpful. And as somebody told me before, the best thing you can do is take him out to lunch or get to know him a little bit, because he's your best friend over there too. So what would happen in an emergency? We always follow what the embassy tells us to do. For example, a few years ago, WHO was coming over, that World Health Organization. They were having a conference in Florence. It's not that organization is any way negative, but it can attract negative demonstrators. And they wanted all the art and everything boarded up in Florence. They advised that we leave the country. So we took our students out of Florence for 5 days. We went up to Medjugorje, and we listened to what they tell us to do. If there would be a point where it would say all U.S. citizens must leave Italy, then of course we would leave. And that's another reason why it's good to have that round-trip ticket, because it would be easier in an emergency if you already have that part booked and just change it out. So if you are arrested, and hopefully no one will be, but they ensure that you have humane treatment. They monitor the conditions and inform family, and they provide a list of English-speaking attorneys. So, you know what? Just don't go there. And so, replace lost or stolen passports. Unfortunately, this does happen over there. There is a big thievery thing going on in Italy, which has been going on for centuries, and people tend to not have things happen to them as a person as much as their possessions are taken. If you go to the laundromat, be sure that you are not just putting your purse and your bag on the table, turning around, filling your washing machine, because somebody can be looking and come in and out. So do that buddy system at all places. The national monuments. I have 5 kids. They've all studied abroad. I could tell you 10 stories of what they experience. And I've experienced like 3 things over there. So those things are really real. They are, they're looking. Not everybody, but there is enough of that component that you need to be careful of your stuff. So if your passport does get stolen, the first thing you do is contact, our school, and there's always somebody on call, and then you'll have to get it replaced through the U.S. consulate over there. it's just an annoyance more than anything else. And that's why it's good to carry those 2 extra passport pictures with you so that you don't have to find a place to get your passport pictures taken. And by the way, one time we had one student who lost his passport 3 times. The consulate told him that if he lost it again, he was going to have to go back to the U.S. So, you know, take care of that. You won't even leave it in a hostel. You'll have somebody, you know, watching your possessions if you're showering or whatever. Be alert, be prepared for an emergency, as Wanda was talking about. Blend in, stay informed, stay in touch, avoid theft, be smart. One thing that I really would like to ask all of you to remember to do is, as soon as you get to your pension, ask one of those staff people that you saw the pictures of, Shelley or Linda or Frederica, James, whoever, ask them if you can borrow their cell phone to make a quick call home to tell mom and dad that you made it. Because otherwise, they're calling me and I say, well, I can contact the dean. No, don't do that, don't do that. But just so they know that you're okay, that you're in Florence, and our staff is happy to lend you their phones to do that, because you might not have your phone going, you might not even have a phone, you might not have gotten your Skype hooked up, whatever. So we'll get into all that other stuff in a minute. We're going to have a panel. Managing your money, making a budget, currency exchange, cash, debit, credit, monitoring your bank account, transferring money from home. Making a budget is a really good idea. As they were talking about, if you're spending money, you want to be sure that you have a handle on that, because getting towards the end of the semester, there may be things that you want to do. So just, try to stick to your budget. Not only budget that, but I should have mentioned this in academics. They still have the same class cuts there that they have here. So be careful of managing that also. Currency exchange, you all know that they're on the euro, England's on the pound, so be prepared for that. And I was going to check it today. Does anybody check recently the exchange rate?
I think it's like 135.
135? That's not too bad. Last time I was there, it was 167, so that's not too bad. Cash, debit, credit, be sure that you notify your bank that you will be going abroad, and primarily in Italy, but maybe in some surrounding European countries. If you have a different bank with debit as with credit, notify both of them. You don't want to carry a large amount of cash on you, those pants here, to carry your wallet, whatever, in front rather than back. The debit card is what you will use to get cash out of the ATMs over there. So contact your bank and find out where your machines are, especially in Florence and in Rome, because you'll be going there in a few days, where those machines are that you can use for the least amount of fees for your debit card. If you take cash out of a cash machine with your credit card, you're going to be given a cash advance fee, and interest will be accruing from the day you take it out till the day it's paid in full. So you're going to be getting a lot more fees if you're taking cash out of an ATM, of a cash machine with a credit card than with a debit card. So everybody, the credit card is totally an option if you want to do that. Traveler's checks, they're great in an emergency. If you lost your card or the machine ate it, heaven forbid, that happened to me over there. Then if you had some traveler's checks in your room, then that would be a good way of having some money without having to borrow it till you could make some arrangements. But traveler's checks, you mainly have to go to a Thomas Cook to get them cashed, and they will charge you a fee. But if you don't use them, you can turn them in at the end when you get back home. But there's a little safety net there. Managing your bank account online. Excuse me. Be sure that one of your parents is on your account as a owner of the account, not just as a signer. Owners can move things around. Signers can pretty much just deposit money. And that's probably what you want anyway. But so be sure that they're an owner so they have access to your bank account. And transferring money from home, having somebody just deposit it into your bank account is the only way that makes sense anymore. So, any questions?
One quick thing that another student told me was if you have your savings account and your checking account linked and you can transfer money between them, keep a small amount in your checking account, which is what you pull out of the ATM, and then move other money into that, because students who have had their debit cards or their debit card information stolen have gotten their account wiped. So it's easier if those two are separate accounts that you can move back and forth and only keep a small amount in the one that you're pulling money out of.
And my son got his debit card stolen, and they wiped out his entire account, and he did not have the PIN number written down any place. They wiped it out in the 2 hours that he learned that he had his card taken. It was when he was getting on a bus. He had bought a ticket. He was running for the bus, put his wallet back here, and somebody in front of him, somebody in back of him. And he stepped out because he saw they were friends or knew each other. They said, no, go, come on. And he gets in, and the guy in front kind of goes back, and 2 hours later, Matt's like, it's gone. So be really, really careful, and that's why I'd look at your account. Some people look at their account every day. In Europe, you just kind of might want to keep a good thing on it. The other thing that's so important is know your PIN number in... not just as a word. If your PIN number is LOVE, know the corresponding letters for numbers for that, because that's what you'll use. Always, when you're getting money out of that ATM, cover up, when you're putting your PIN number in, cover it up with your hand. I think this is one of the most common things that's happened to our students recently. Sometimes there must be little cameras or something, but their PIN numbers are being stolen because they're being accessed with that. So just be super, super careful when you're getting money out of those ATMs. And we're going to address that with the student panel that's going to jump on down right now. Jill, do you want to? Yeah, or I can, whatever, we can both do it, so just feel free to jump in. Okay. Can you please introduce yourself? And did all of you go in the spring?
Yeah.
It's just spring only, no your kids here. Okay, good. Introduce yourself and tell what major you're in, and maybe what pension or homestay you were in.
What major are you? What?
Major.
Oh, major.
School, academics, number one.
Okay. I'm Jordan, mechanical engineer, and I was in 85 Cavora.
I'm Rachel Chandler. I'm a civil engineer, and I lived in 85 as well.
I'm Eric. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I lived in Bonifacio.
I'm Madeline. I'm a business marketing major, and I lived in Hotel Mountain Mountain.
I'm Brett. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I lived in 85 Fort.
I'm just gonna sit. I'm Keith Davidson. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I also lived in 85 Fort. We're a lot of engineers.
Let's see what she's got.
5 plus 6.
Yep.
I got it.
Oh, it's this stuff. Okay, you guys, so we were talking about money a little bit. So talk to us a little bit about how do you manage your money over there?
Money is tough because you're going to spend a lot of money and it's really unavoidable, so you need to go with a set amount and budget it. So I would say minimum $6,000 per semester, and know what trips are going to go on and how much you want to spend for each trip. But you just have to know that the euro is really terrible because it just adds up and you think about it like a dollar, and you're going to spend money whether you're in Florence or whether you're in Madrid.
I think something to remember is the euro is really pretty, but it's not monopoly money. So remember that you actually are spending real money, and that it's not just €1 to $1. I think when we left, the exchange rate was like $1.5 to every euro, and it's just terrible. And also, like when you budget something, I don't know if these guys, I don't think I ever had a trip where I budgeted it, and then it ended up spending that amount of money. There's always just little fees that get you here and there. You just get nickel and dime, so always keep that moving.
Yeah, so when you're planning your trips, like say you calculate one trip, all your traveling expenses, everything, bus, plane ticket, whatever it is, say it comes out to €300, I would add a minimum of like €50 to €100 to that just to be safe. Because there's little things that come up everywhere that you're like, oh, €5 or €10 or something. So it's just great to always have that little extra bit that you like budgeted for.
Did you ever have the experience when you went to get cash out and you were declined because you were trying to get $250 out and it didn't factor in the exchange rate?
Not for that reason.
No.
We got
Had
the-
the experience of getting declined.
We got declined a
A
lot.
lot of
for-
ATMs just won't take your card.
Won't take your cards, sometimes depending on the country, and then when you first get there, like I had to call my bank 3 times, I think, because they were just didn't figure out that even though I called them, they didn't understand that I was traveling Europe, so I'd go to a new country and they'd be like, shut down. Go to a new country and they'd shut it down. So that happened a lot, so you just have to get used to that. But I had 2 cards, so I just kind of bounced back and forth.
Okay.
so
And
I
is
think
that,
It
go
is
ahead.
good to, like, before you leave the country, like, go into your bank and tell them, like, I'm gonna be in Europe and, like, I might be going to, like, all these different countries, not just I'm gonna be in Italy.
Yeah.
So that then, they know.
Speaking of that, you guys are hitting on travel already. So usually, as you guys know, GIF offers trips. You guys will be offered the opportunity to go on group trips, but you guys can also do independent travel. So are there any group trips that you'd say definitely go on, or are there any independent trips that you would say definitely go and do this?
What are the?
I don't know what the group trips are. Do we know?
We don't really
We don't know
know
yet.
No.
So which ones did you guys like?
Group trips were a little more expensive just because things are included. It's nice because you go and you don't plan anything. Like everything's taken care of when you get there, where you stay, your food, which is nice, but it ends up coming with a bit of a premium. You can do it for cheaper if you do it on your own. So
It will always be cheaper on your own, but you won't like.
Yeah.
When you go to eat, you'll be looking at like the
Yeah.
really expensive restaurant. You're like, I'm not going
Skip
there.
it.
And when you go on the trips, they pay for night. Like you won't stay anywhere where you're like, God, I can't believe I paid for this place. Like the
Yeah.
restaurants will be, you'll be like, wow, we're eating here,
And
and
make sure
this is all
everything-
paid for, and like, so it's pretty impressive whatever they do.
And you do some things you wouldn't do on your own. Like we went on the Switzerland trip and we did night sledding, which I never would have done.
Right, because it was ridiculously expensive, and we got pretty mad about how much we
We did it
paid for
originally when we did it.
But then we did it, and it was really, really fun, and we would have never done it. So, I mean, it's just things like that. It's pretty fun.
And planning your own trip, it's work too. Like it's a lot of work.
So stressful.
I know. I only did one trip to the school. I went to Budapest, and it was the most fun trip by far. Like it was just a blast. So I would at least get one in.
Plus, you're with everybody too,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
cool.
I met so many
Yeah.
people.
It's really hard to plan a big trip with a lot of people. It's hard to plan the trip.
Yeah, and if you go with a group of like 12 or 15 on your own, it's going to be an issue because you're all going to do different things. But if you go with 20 people with the school, there's no decision, so it's way easier. Because our first trip was like 12 people, and immediately after that, a bunch of us were like, we're going to change how we do this from now on. Because it's just too stressful because everyone wants to eat somewhere different or do something different.
But online, what was your favorite place that you saw in Italy or outside?
Like favorite place we went to?
Yep.
I like Munich personally.
Okay.
I don't know, I would definitely recommend a lot of the school trips just for the convenience and also, I mean, they pick good places and so Munich was really cool. If you're into like outdoorsy stuff, Interlaken, really cool. If they go there again, I don't know.
I don't know, Morocco was really awesome. That was one of the coolest ones we did by far. And it was cheap too, it was like €8 to get there.
Yeah, Morocco was really great. I was in Greece for a week and that was really great. But Italy's really great. I would recommend traveling in Italy while you're in Italy. And I think if you can, like I traveled for like 6 weeks afterwards, and you can like budget or save money to travel afterwards. You have more time to spend places, and then while you're in Italy, you can spend your weekends in Florence, you spend your weekends going, to Venice and around all these places to see the country that you're living in and really get the full experience.
And it's good to consider, like, Europe's really cool, and it's really big, and there's, like, all kinds of stuff to see, but it's always going to be there. And there's plenty of stuff to do in Italy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and it's cheap, too. Like, you can just, spur of the moment, like, it's a Thursday, you can just go get a cheap train ticket and go somewhere really cool for the weekend. So, don't forget about Italy.
You guys go into like the southern, like most of Italy. I'm planning because my family lives there, but I was just wondering if you guys had anything like Reggio Calabria, something like that.
It was actually cheaper to fly.
Yeah.
Strangely, once you go past Rome, if you're taking the train in the northern part of Italy, it's like €8 to get somewhere. But as soon as you go, like we went to Amalfi, then it's like 50 or 60. So if you plan ahead, you can actually fly to the southern tip of Italy for cheaper, and Sicily too. I know a bunch of people went there for cheap.
You mean like Easter with the fam, so.
Just definitely plan ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ryanair has flights all over Italy, so if you look from there, you should take some cheap.
On what he said, you can just grab a train ticket like last second and take off to
Right. You can always get there. so
Milan.
Yeah.
But if you do plan ahead, you get like a 30% discount if you buy it like 15 days in advance or something like that. So, I mean, train tickets that like, because there's like slow trains and fast trains. Fast trains are really fast and slow trains are really slow. And so like I know there was a couple times like we went to Rome and the group I was with, we took the fast train, we got there in an hour and paid the same price as what people paid to get there in 4 hours because we bought ours like 3 weeks in advance. So.
How did, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in Italian 101 here right now. How bad is like the conversation over there if you're not very experienced?
It's fine.
It's not
gonna
bad,
be
it's
Italian.
fine. But
Let's see,
you're
who
not gonna
didn't
go
take
to a
Italian here?
restaurant
Was
and
I the
ask,
only one?
like,
No,
I didn't take it.
So yeah, all 4 of us didn't even ever take
Yeah,
Italian.
well, I
Yeah.
took it, but I honestly was not that much of an advantage. We would be on a train, we'd like try to sing in Italian, and they'd look at us like, "What do you want?" It happened all the time.
But definitely
You
try.
definitely helped us.
It helps, but it's not crucial. Like you'll be able to get around just fine.
Everyone will speak English, but like if you go to a coffee shop or something, just like make the effort. Like it doesn't matter how bad it is. Just like start in Italian and then they'll respond either in English.
They might go to English, but they appreciate the
numbers
effort.
are really
If you go in and you just like start talking to people in English, they're like, oh wow.
They're also not going to be good at English. Like in a restaurant, they'll be able to, like, you can get seated, order, and all that stuff. But don't expect to go to a restaurant and say, oh, can I get this? Hold the tomatoes and hold this.
Right.
Like you're in their country, so you really need to be respectful of not making them speak English when it's like a hassle for them.
On that note, learn menu Italian.
Yeah.
That is important.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Food and numbers are the most important by far.
When you traveled on weekends, how did you carry your money?
I put it in a wallet and locked it in a backpack.
Yeah.
So I had a backpack on me all the time, so I put it in the top pouch and get a lock and clip it into the hold and then just pull it, have the key on me.
Did anybody use money belts or pouches or anything?
I brought one, but I never used it.
I use it because I was kind of paranoid about it.
But I travel with him most of the time. And
Yeah, so I would just lock it.
Whenever it was sketchy, we just lock into his backpack and just good to go.
I always just had my wallet and my passport stacked on top of each other, front pocket, and all the time my hand was right there on my pocket. Like my hand didn't leave my
If you
pocket.
get in crowds, it's just like you don't move.
Yeah.
I think even for me, like being a girl, like our pockets aren't as big, but I got like a little container or like little wallet type thing to put my money and everything I needed. And it was either in this pocket, like he said, with my hand right on it, or it was in my coat jacket with my hand on it. Like my hand never left my passport or my wallet ever. Like it was just always on there.
Did you carry, like, around Florence, did you carry a purse or anything like that?
No.
No.
We felt pretty safe in Florence.
I have 4 sons, I should have seen that one coming.
So in Florence, though, you felt pretty safe.
Yeah.
Were there other places that you didn't feel safe?
Yes.
Safe? Such as?
Morocco, Barcelona,
Barcelona.
Amsterdam.
Just crowded areas too.
I would say Florence almost gets kind of dangerous because you feel so safe. Like you come back to Florence and you're like, oh, I'm home. You know, like after being in Barcelona, it seems so safe. I mean, I never had any issues, but I was probably almost too relaxed sometimes.
Yeah,
At the end of the
I
year,
agree.
just careful.
And in the beginning, just one second, in the beginning, when you get there, there's not as many tourists as there are in April. So you kind of probably get a little bit comfortable in your ways, and then it picks up.
Definitely.
How do you guys keep in touch with home? Something everyone has to
Skype.
Pretty much didn't.
How many others?
Skype or not, I just like left. I would send them emails because they would want to like talk to me. And so I would communicate by email probably like 4 times.
For those of you guys who use Skype, how well did it work?
No.
Not very well. Depending on what like
Well,
peninsula
it's
you
because
were
everyone got on
in.
at the same time.
And that's
Everyone gets home to Sunday and wants to talk to their family about their trip. So it's like 8 people get on in one
It
network.
just your internet just plummets.
Italian internet is not like here at all. Like lower your expectations a lot, and then
Dial-up.
yeah, like dial up.
Play the tone in your head.
Some guys that stops.
Yeah. What about?
There were
Oh,
people
sorry.
that used like if you don't necessarily use Skype face to face, I think people use like Google phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a lot faster.
And that works, but it's not.
One of our non-Gonzaga students just,
How many of you
Streamed
had
it.
phones over there?
I didn't.
Okay, this is kind of a really weird thing that I had happen, but just to know, okay, so I
Talk
brought,
loud because you are up to them too.
oh, there's people on there, cool.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of weird. I brought my iPhone, right, because I was like, I'll take the SIM card out, and then if I have an emergency, I'll plug the SIM card in, and I can make a really expensive call to whoever. And so I never ended up using the SIM card, and I thought I had it the whole time, and I ended up losing it in Belgium, and somebody else happened to find it and plugged into their phone and used it for like a month before, like, because it just so happened to time right before my like billing period, so I had like a $1,500 bill. Luckily AT&T like took care of it, and that was really cool. But just like a thing to note, if you're thinking about that, don't do it. But I would recommend, like, if you have an iPad, I know Chad went this summer, he brought an iPad instead of a computer, so he didn't have to worry about a computer, and he could travel with it. And then like with my iPhone, like I could Skype when we went, because every hostel you go to pretty much will have Wi-Fi, generally for free. So like I would Skype my mom and be like, oh, this is where we are, and then like show her where we actually were, so it was kind of cool.
What about those of you guys who did have a phone or didn't have a phone?
I had a phone, and in terms of like communicating with each other in Florence, it's weird because you get there and you're used to having a cell phone, and then no one does. And so you really use Facebook chat a lot to communicate, like, what are you doing, where are you, let's meet up, here, whatnot. I had like an Italian little Nokia phone, and it was really worthless. The fall kids had all gotten these phones that they had rented, and then they all ended up breaking, and it cost a bunch of money. But so I wouldn't really recommend the renting phone thing if they try and lure you into that. And you can get a cheap phone, like mine was probably like €40, and then I would pay, just I had a card, and I'd put like €10 at a time on it. And it's fine if like your other friends have them, but it's really not necessary. And it kind of ended up being like a lot of money that I didn't really need it.
Yeah, I didn't have a phone, and I loved it.
I enjoyed it.
Really
I
nice.
hate texting now.
Yeah.
So,
I thought before I went, like, I text quite a bit, and I was like, oh, this is going to be so tragic not having a phone with me. But I got there, and it was like, everyone, I mean, you pretty much live with everyone, or at least with a lot of people, and you see everyone at school, and like, you didn't even notice, or at least I didn't.
Yeah.
It was just like, you talk to people at school, you talk to people on Facebook, and like, I don't think while you're over there you want to be talking to, like, you don't want to be texting people back home, like, later you eat or something. Because like, you want to focus on it.
And that's so expensive, it's not worth it.
Like, if anything, I would do like a prepaid phone. I had some friends do that.
Yeah.
And that worked.
A couple people would bring a phone from home and then like go to a bar and decide to call their friends and rack up a huge bill. So it's really just not a good idea.
Those were summer gifts though.
I got a couple calls during the summer.
What is
It's really not worth it.
I'm sorry. What is the actual building or kind of the school facilities like in Florence?
Very small, but the desks are very similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
But
get
they
used to that little pad.
Yeah.
It's nice because it's basically just one building. It's not a campus. You go in and there's probably like 10 classrooms. It's like 3 levels. There's a little library and a computer lab. And it's nice because you see everyone there all day because everyone has their classes there. You're in class for like pretty much all day. You don't have as many breaks as you do here. But yeah, it's a small, it's nice.
It's real.
It's right in the middle of Florence.
Quick side note about that gym. If you want to like do cardio or something, it's like there's treadmills and stuff. But if you
They don't work.
They don't. Only one
That's
worked,
true.
I think.
So they used to have like a little weight set, and that was okay. And then we showed up one day, and there was a little sign, barbell removed for safety reasons. So it's not like
gym's like.
There's pretty much no gym. You just
So
go
what do you
running.
suggest that students who like to work out, what do you suggest they do?
Don't go to Florence.
You can just run outside, like try to find a path that's like flat, like no cobblestone, and
It helps to
that's where you're
explore the
gonna
city, so
go.
you really
Yeah, I would say just run. Like,
I mean, you
people are
can
gonna
run.
look at you weird, and they think it's weird because they don't do that there. You're clearly an American if you're out running. And it's hard when there's a lot of tourists to do it early in the morning, or I guess just early in the morning. But it's worth it because it's a good way to see the city, and it's a good workout, and I think that's the best way to do it.
It's a lot easier to find your way home in the middle of the day instead of the middle of the night, so it's good to get your bearings before taking that
Also,
decision.
bus number 7 from San Marco to Fiesole. That's I don't remember who it was.
It was a big thing with, I think me and James was, or me and Brett was it me and James or me and Brett?
It was James.
Me and James, yeah.
Anyways, there's this little place called Fiesole, just right outside of Florence. It's like €1.20 to get there on the bus, and it's really beautiful. It's got like
Amazing.
it's incredible views, like looking down over the city, and there's really good hiking around there if you're into that kind of thing.
There's an actual forest. You won't believe it.
And yeah, with trees. It's
Yeah. I
real
think we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, thank you. And you said that you hang out with a lot of people in the pensione, but if you're doing a homestay, do you connect with a lot of those students?
Yeah.
I would say yeah. I know a few homestays that came down to 85 all the time and were hanging out, and they ate lunch with us every day. So
You see
they
them
were
all
just
the
like
time.
extended family kind of.
Yeah.
A lot of the homestays have like, I don't know what, like 6 or 7 people. So you have, even if you're in a homestay, you'll still have a group that you live with.
Yeah.
Generally, I don't think anybody was ever alone.
No, you're never
No.
isolated. I mean, even
Yeah.
if you don't live with everyone, you see everyone every day in class. And then you see everyone, and usually you'll hang out there all the time. So it should be fun.
Since we're back to class, one of our questions that just came in was to talk about academics and workload, how you balance school and travel, and what were the academics like over there for you?
It's a different balance. It's a different style, definitely, where a lot more responsibility is on the student, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. And so, like, there were some European professors and some from Gonzaga, and especially with the European ones, it was, you wouldn't get homework, you wouldn't get anything. We had one class where our entire grade was based on our final. Hopefully they change that.
Hopefully.
And so, like, you have more freedom. You don't have to, like, necessarily do all kinds of homework every night, but there's also more responsibility. Like, you have to get it done. You have to, like, learn it somehow on your own. Classes are easy to relax.
But you only have class 4 days a week. So
Yes.
it's really like, you cram during the week, but you still have time to do plenty of things.
Teachers are really lax about you leaving on the weekends. Like, they realize you're going to be busy on the weekends.
Yeah.
So they don't do what teachers do here, is they give you huge assignments every Saturday and Sunday. They usually give you the most homework on like a Monday or a Tuesday. And then when it comes to Tuesday, there might be some reading, but they understand that we are going. And in Florence, we're going to be gone a lot, we're going to be busy. So they really tone down the workload. Yeah. As far as my classes.
Same here.
One question I had, in terms of scheduling classes, did you have all your classes in a row or were they spread out?
They're pretty much in a row. There's really not breaks here, like where you go home and you go back. They pretty much go 4 hours of class.
Go to class, go home, go have lunch, and then you come back. It's like school from, I don't know, like 9 to 3. Like,
Yeah.
Because lunch is scheduled. Like, you eat lunch with your whole pensione, and it's at one time. So, like, the class...
So everybody comes home for lunch.
Yeah.
Every
So it's
day.
like you have your morning session and your afternoon session. Or if you're lucky, like Sundays you don't have one to do.
There's such few students that you are pretty much all in one class. There's not a bunch of classes you can choose from.
Granted, we were all engineers.
Yeah.
So we were all in the same class. Yeah.
We'll go through what a day in the life of Florence looks like on Monday night when you guys have the dinner. So we'll go through like a full day. A former student will walk you guys through a full day and show you like pictures of the school and what everything looks like. So we'll do a lot of that on Monday too. But you guys alluded to something that I'm sure everyone is curious about. What were your pensiones like? What was that experience like?
They were awesome.
I loved 85 before.
They're all run by little families. Like, the people who work there are all the same. You get to know and meet them. Generally, they're a family or a small group of people.
It's like you're living in a home, pretty much.
Yeah.
I know that I still talk to, we had a few night guards, and I still keep in contact with some of them, like, through Facebook. We say hi to each other every now and then, just asking what they're doing. So, like, you can become friends with the, like, pensione, like, people and all that. So it's just a great environment.
And they're really helpful too. Like they were open to do like if we had any suggestions on changes or like food we didn't like or things like that. Like I know like for us we had like people who couldn't drink, like they were lactose intolerant, so they were like really helpful about going and getting soy milk and like changing things around a little bit with that. And like we had a vegetarian, so they had to move around or wouldn't eat red meat, so they would always have chicken for her. So little things like that.
Also, another food, pasta. You're gonna eat a lot of pasta. Pretty much.
You shouldn't eat pasta.
At least twice a day.
And it's kind of like the big meal over there is lunch. So like the breakfast, at least in 85 Kabor, the breakfast was like cereal, milk,
Eggs. Don't forget your hard-boiled
Hard-boiled
eggs.
eggs. Oh yeah, those are good.
Really?
And then
Apples sometimes.
Yeah, apples and pumpkin.
Yogurt.
Yeah, yogurt.
You get
Yeah.
yogurt.
and then lunches would be like multi-course
Three-course meal.
It was pretty good. They would bring in like a salad generally, a big bowl of pasta for like all the tables to share, and then like generally a meat course or like something with some vegetables.
Yeah, meat and vegetables always.
And then, but dinners were pretty light. It would be like a salad and like a little bit of meat or cheese or something. But it was still good. It was really good.
Yeah.
Like we never got tired of pasta. We all expected to. Just never
I
happened.
got tired of pasta.
He did.
I got tired of one kind of pasta.
Yeah,
What was that?
Red pasta.
So red pasta?
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was one red pasta, and we had it like 2 or 3 times a week,
Yeah.
a couple weeks in a row, and it's just like, I'm over it. So.
The food does vary between this and that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like a different meal every day is the best food I've ever had.
And not all of your meals are in the pensione. So like on weekends and things like that, there may not be meals. So what did you guys do when there wasn't a meal in your pensione?
Il Centro will be your best friend.
Oh, yes.
It's like right
Or Essentia,
walking distance, and for like $2.50,
You get amazing.
you could get this like
sandwich.
incredible sandwich with all this like fresh ingredients.
You could pick what, 6 ingredients?
6 ingredients, and
Yeah.
there's like Subway times like a billion.
And that's a good alternative. A lot of times, especially at first, everyone wants to go out to these big meals, and that's really great, and it's really fun. You should definitely do that, but plan like you're in Florence one night a week and you guys will go out and try some restaurant, but you're going to spend like €20 a night on wine and food. That's really fun, but it just gets really expensive, and so Il Centro is really great if one night you want to eat that for lunch and dinner, since they don't do it.
Do you think that you had a good cultural experience going to Gonzaga-in-Florence with other, U.S. students? Do you feel that you had a good cultural experience by living in the pension? This is a question that's come on.
Like versus living in a homestay or just in general?
Well, just in general.
I think that's a really good. I think you need to be really aware of it, and it depends how much you want to be into the cultural aspect of Italy, because it's really easy at Gonzaga-in-Florence to get sucked into the. We're all at Gonzaga, we all love each other, and just hang out with each other. And you really should like branch out and go do things, not do the same thing every night you go out, but try new places and try and meet other people, maybe not just from Gonzaga or locals or whoever. But it is easy to kind of get into the like mentality that, oh, with all my friends, we're just gonna do this, and we don't care about what else because we're just living in this great thing right here. But I think you really have to make the effort to step outside that, and I think a homestay is a really great way to do that.
Could each of you tell us what extracurricular activity you participated in, if you did participate in? We'll start.
Extracurricular
Like
there?
English, and for English for pasta, calcetto.
We did calcetto. I think that's kind of all.
Yeah, I see calcetto.
I mean, I did a lot. I did like an
What's
everyone.
calcetto? Will you explain that for
Oh, that's
soccer?
fun soccer, as I like to call it, because I'm not a big fan of soccer, but it's like soccer on a tennis court sized arena, and so it's 5-on-5 if I recall.
Yeah, it's a pensione tournament.
Yeah, so and then it's like a tournament between all the pensions, and they also have a tournament between the different like study abroad schools, because I know Eric was on that team. And that's like so much fun because it's just you're just like in the action the whole time. I guess is the best way I could describe it. And then like I don't know.
It's so close. It's not.
It's really competitive.
It's over there. You have to run away.
Yeah, it got pretty intense. Too.
Yeah.
The whole thing like built some pretty good friendly rivalry with Pensione too. So that was good.
What about English for pasta?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of like cultural things, English for pasta is really great. I did that a couple times. Definitely try and get in there. It's hard because they don't have a ton of families. I volunteered at an elementary school and helped little kids with learning English, and that was really great because they're so cute and it's just a good like you feel it's just interesting because you're in an Italian classroom, and just seeing kind of the dynamic is really great. I think, and it helps your Italian. You're really in there.
They offered a little program where I think it was mainly for engineering students, but where we went to a high school and we would teach some science-based class once a week. So I did physics, and I would go every Wednesday morning and give a physics lecture. Their professor would email me and just tell me to prepare a lecture. I think initially it was just supposed to be like me assisting her, but it kind of just turned into her emailing me and me kind of just teaching the whole lecture in English, and then they would ask me questions, and we kind of just struggle through it.
Did any of you guys have internships over there? Or you guys have a couple?
I did.
No, but you can definitely do that there. I would say do that too. I think they count like the school things. Yeah, they might count that.
Yeah, I guess they officially call it one, but I don't.
Yeah.
Does that take away from your time, like traveling around Florence?
I mean, it probably depends on what it is. Like,
Just plan it for like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
yeah.
Did anybody have a language partner with somebody from the University of Florence? Keep in mind, these are engineers. Their courses are probably pretty difficult even over there.
I mean, those things are good. You just have to get in there early and ask your time professor or whoever early, because if you wait like a week, then all the partners will have run out, or all the English plus the families will be taken.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to get out and do something like that. I know the teaching, I was lazy about it. I was like, oh, I'll get to it. Like, they're going to fill up. And then they filled up, and the only time to go was like 8 o'clock on a Wednesday morning or something, and it just wasn't going to happen. So, so that I didn't end up getting to do that even though I wanted to. So, like, just if you really think you want to do something, then just go for it. Because you can all, I mean, it's the only way you're going to get to do it.
We'll talk about travel a little bit more. How were hostels? A lot of you guys probably stayed in hostels when you traveled. What was that experience kind of like for you guys?
Hostels are so great.
Yeah. We had some amazing hostels.
Yeah.
It could be kind of hit and miss though.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had a few bad ones, but then I had a few amazing ones that they were just awesome. It was fun to stay there. But then I was in a bad one in Barcelona, and that just...
How do you know the good ones from the bad ones? Do you know ahead of time?
Hostel World.
Hostel
Okay,
World.
there is a
Hostel
website called
Booker.
hostelworld.com. It is like Yelp for hostels. It's awesome. You can go on and go like country, price range, location, and then list.
Rating.
And people
Yeah.
rate them. And there's hundreds of ratings. It's incredibly reliable.
Yeah.
Like we booked everything through it. Like you buy it there, and we didn't have a bad hostel.
And usually, yeah, they're
Yeah, we got
like
rooms.
highly ranked hostels are great hostels. And I mean, I think the thing about a hostel is you can go with 10 of your friends and it will be great, or you can go by yourself and you'll just meet whoever's there, and that's awesome.
Yeah, there's always people there. Because I traveled on my own for like a week at the end, and I met people everywhere I went.
Because people are doing the same thing as you, and even if they're from other countries, they are wanting to have the same experiences that you're wanting to have.
Like some of my most fun nights were with a group of 20 people that I met in my hostel, and we all go out to the club together, and it was just a blast. I mean, you have like, one night in Milan, I think we had like 11 different countries represented in our little group from our hostel, and it was just
I would
so
say
fun.
go on a trip either by yourself or with like one other person.
Some hostels do really cool things. Like, when we went to Barcelona, and what happens there is there's one chain of hostel, there's 5, and they all meet at night. Yes, it's called San Jordi's, and so there'd be like 25 people in one. But you all go out somewhere to some bar, and then like
There's some
you get like
bars
100 people all converge, and you meet a ton of people. And they do it every single night. Like we got there on a Thursday night, and they were like 10 o'clock, and we were like leaving in 20 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of hostels do that. When we went to Prague, it was the same thing. There was like a group that would get together from the hostel, and then they'd take you out around the city.
So you go to a hostel where you look at that, it'll say like whether they do that.
How did you guys pack either for those weekend trips or pack for Florence in general?
For the weekend trips, I normally just have my backpack, and that's all I brought, because normally I flew Ryanair, and you can only have a carry-on for free, and their carry-on size is itty-bitty. So,
stingy.
yeah, they're really stingy. Like, it's terrible. So I would suggest for weekend trips, stick to just one backpack. And if you have to, you can wear multiple layers onto the plane. Like, wear like 3 coats if you have to, or like all your shirts or something.
Yeah, because it will be cold, and like I bought my ski coat everywhere, like until the end of March. I was wearing it every time we got on a plane. I had like 3 layers on, just because I knew it was gonna be cold.
And I think for girls, you just kind of have to realize that you're going to be wearing the same thing every weekend on trips, and it's not just pick an outfit that you're going to wear the whole weekend and pack that outfit, because you don't have room to pack. Especially if you're going by train, you can bring whatever, but they'll charge you like 40 or 50 euro if your bag's over to check it on Ryanair, and that's just such a hassle. So it's better to be safe on that and look at the measurements and make sure your bag's right, especially if you're anywhere in Spain.
Keep in mind, the requirements for carry-ons are different. In the U.S., it's pretty standard. It's different for every airline in Europe a lot of times.
In the U.S., it's like, at least with my experience, it's been pretty much like whatever goes. Like if you can carry it on
If
the
you go
airplane,
through the
it's a
scanner,
carry-on.
you can take it.
You can't have a purse, like a little purse, and
If
then
you
you
have
have your
a
backpack on, because it needs to go in your backpack.
I'd say if you're gonna
only
buy
have one bag.
if you're gonna buy a backpack before you go, I would like get on Ryanair and look up the exact dimensions and buy your backpack as close to that size as you can without going over it.
You can go a little long though, because I had a bag that was about 6 inches longer than the requirements, and I flew Ryanair like 15 times and never got stopped.
Yeah,
You just can't be taller. Because the thing is, those bags are actually longer. Their overheads will fit something longer than that, but you just can't get it taller or wider. If you go in there, if you look, because look at Ryanair.
Yeah.
Just don't go wider or longer, but you can go like lengthwise.
Yeah, don't go thicker but wider.
Because you want a big bag. Okay. Because the thing is, like, we had someone who traveled with us with a tiny backpack, which was a bit of an issue. I had a bigger bag, so you really want more space.
What about toiletries or other things that you would recommend? Things that you would recommend people bring to Florence with them that you can't get it over there.
Deodorant, yes.
Don't do deodorant.
Yeah.
Their deodorant is a range, so bring enough.
And that's it.
Yeah, I think they only had spray. You couldn't really find like rolling ones or sticks. It was all spray. So if you don't like spray, bring your own.
To be fair, it's there. You just have to look for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was hard to find. It was
difficult to
findable
find.
though.
Bring, like, you can get toothpaste, shampoo, that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely
Anything you're
shampoo.
particular about, like if you want this certain type of, I don't know, whatever you use, hairspray or whatever, then bring that stuff. Like I brought big shampoo and conditioners, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not gonna be able to get these there. And then they have them in every store, like all the brands we have here. So that I wouldn't worry about.
Contact solution.
You can get it at a pharmacy. I didn't bring enough, and I just walked into the pharmacy, and it was a little bit of a language barrier, but I was able to tell her like contacts, and she's like, oh, okay, and then showed me exactly what there was, and there's no issue at all with that.
But you do have to be careful. I wear contacts, and when I'm over there, the contact solution that's over there, I can't use. So if you have a certain solution that you like for something as critical as eye care, then you might want to bring that. Or if there's anything else that you really do like, you might want to at least get yourself a starter part of that. But
The one good thing is if you bring those things over, they're definitely not coming back with you, so you've got more room in your suitcase to bring other stuff. I would say, when I went, do you guys get towels in your Pensiones?
yes,
Okay,
small,
never mind.
right?
Although I brought a
No,
towel.
ours were like hotel large size, like they were great.
They started off small,
They
and then we
started
got a
off
towel
bad.
service somehow, and like every day we had a fresh towel with us.
I would say bring a cheap towel that you're planning on
Right,
using
because
tonight.
you want one to travel with.
Yeah.
So you
But
almost
bring
want a smaller one to
Do
travel
you have the chamois type of towels, like from REI, that you can just kind
I
of
would
bring out
bring,
easy
I would
dry
get one of those.
for the weekends?
One thing I would think that I think most people don't think about is sunscreen.
Yeah.
Because I think you get later in the year,
Oh, yeah.
it gets really hot, and I think a lot of people burn. And I don't know, I was in Greece and we were trying to buy sunscreen, and it was like €27 for a bottle of
Yeah.
sunscreen. It was
It's
just
like a
ridiculous.
small bottle.
Yeah. So I would bring some of that for
Yeah,
later
you
on in the spring.
burn easily, bring your own sunscreen.
Bring a little speaker.
Oh, that was
a little
good,
deal.
yeah.
We all forgot that, and
Yeah.
his roommate had this thing that was like this big, but it was awesome because it was loud. And because everyone's trying to play music off their laptops and trying to hang out. So bring like, if you can get like a little portable speaker or something that's just small, it's like actually a great thing.
Because I got one from Ross, it was like $5, and it was like this big, but
It like popped up.
it was cool. But that was our like whenever we'd get together before we go out. That was our music. And otherwise you have laptops. So
Yeah, so bring something. Because a little speaker better than
Do you have something down here?
I just had a question maybe for you. Do we have to bring our own bedding? Or do they provide
No.
The bedding is there.
bedding?
and they make you bed every day.
Yep.
At least they did for us.
Yep.
they
They did for us.
They go like into your room and like organize your things.
They sweep it.
They sweep your floor, they like clean it.
Let one person talk, because it's kind of hard when the non-Gonzaga students are listening in if we're all talking. So one person at a time, please. Thanks.
They go in and like at least at 85 per board. They'll like sweep, clean under your bed, like organize your belongings. Which I mean it was helpful. I thought it was a little rude, but
Sometimes I found my pajamas folded on my pillow.
It's just
a
something
little strange at times, but then other times it was kind of nice.
yeah, you come home from the weekend and it's like
Right, it happens on the weekend. So like you come home, the only thing you want to do is like just come home to a nice clean room. Of course you've left it a mess because you packed like with 20 minutes before your train or something stupid. And you come back and it is just perfect, immaculate, clean floors, everything. So, and we had a shower, so that was always clean. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
So how did you do bags getting over there? Like, how much do you pack and what are you end up bringing? How do you Well, I
What do
think
you pack in the bag or what?
yeah,
bag?
kind of like how much do you end up having to take?
I brought like a week's worth of clothes, and that was it. Pretty much me shoes, a laptop.
Wait, you. I did 2 bags, like two.
I did
Two
one
suitcases.
bag, and I would recommend doing that because you're gonna buy stuff no matter what.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's just you're living in a city downtown where you walk like 5 minutes and you have every store right there. Like you'll love Zara and you'll buy everything there. And there's like all these street fairs where you can get really cheap clothes. And I think like and then I bought a suitcase and so I took 2 home and just brought 1. And I would recommend doing that because you're going to be wearing the same things over and over, and if you have roommates, you'll share their clothes, and so you basically have everything.
Bring a heavy coat though. You think it's like, oh, it's Italy, it's all warm.
It's
We
not.
got there, it was like 20 degrees for a good month.
And
It's
then
really cold.
when you're traveling or you're walking outside, like you don't really think about this, but when you're viewing a city, like touring it, you're gonna be outside in that 20 degree or 30 degree weather for, I don't know, 8 hours. So it gets cold. I would bring multiple scarves, gloves, a beanie of some sort, like definitely gloves and a nice heavy coat because it gets cold.
Leather gloves are fashionable there for guys.
Yes.
You get over that.
And actually, leather in Florence is like.
There's a lot of nice things you can buy there. Like you'll live, there's a market, and they have all these winter scarves and other scarves, and so like if you're a girl and you're looking for things like that, you can just go and buy a warm, nice scarf, so you don't have to bring it. You're probably gonna buy it anyway, so you might as well just buy it.
Question up above.
Hold on, you guys are getting to, what we're gonna do is we only have a few more minutes. So for some of you guys who still have questions, there's gonna be another panel on Monday at the dinner, and we'll try not to cover the same questions, but also these guys might be okay hanging around for an extra few minutes, maybe. And you guys can come down and ask us.
I do have one live stream question, and we want to take that. How did you do your laundry, or where did you do your laundry? Or did you do laundry?
I did my laundry in the sink. All of it in the sink. And
Tied to go packs.
yeah, and I think I did 1 load of actual laundry in a washing machine, and that was my jeans, and that was one time. The entire time I was there.
Like every other week, and it's probably like €7 total for 1 load. But it's not that big of a hassle. Like there was one right across my container, so I could just go leave it because it's locked.
Just wait till like you have all of your clothes dirty and then go.
Yeah.
I went a couple times.
Or go with your friends and mix it all together and then split it.
Yeah, if they have like super washers, they're like only €1 more, but if you combine it like with someone else's, it makes the price.
It's like the small ones are 8 kilogram loads, and then the larger ones for slightly more are either 25 kilogram or 32 kilogram. And that's a lot of.
Yeah, so you can if you plan it, you can be fine. Because the first time we didn't realize how expensive it was.
Our pension had a lot of drying racks too. I think we had 2 big ones. So you could do, like I would do literally all of my laundry except for what I was wearing, and then I could hang it out and dry all of it.
Because you pay for washing and drying. So if you just pay for washing and bring it back and get a rack, it's way cheaper.
Right. Your standards of clean clothes tend to decrease.
Yeah, big clothes. Yeah, my
And don't
standard
bring
of
anything
clean.
that's really nice. Like girls don't bring nice silk shirts that you're gonna need to wash because the washing machines are just
Definitely bring like one nice outfit.
Yeah.
though.
One nice
Yeah,
outfit.
definitely bring and like something. Yeah, you're not.
Because I forgot a nice shirt even though it was on my list of stuff, and so like I finally needed one in Barcelona. I had to go out and buy one.
Nice shirt.
It's really
Yeah,
nice
you
shirt.
definitely need nice stuff, but don't if you're gonna wash it.
We are going to wrap up because it is 7 o'clock. Thank all of our listeners that were sending in questions to us. And I just want to tell all of you that if you didn't get your questions answered, the GU students here actually have access to the alums. But if you are at home, if you go to our website, Gonzaga-in-Florence.org, click on GIF ambassadors, you can email any of those students any questions that you want. So thank you very much. And thank you for your time. Good job.